Good afternoon friends. In previous session of this particular course, we discussed the importance of business statistics, who should study business statistics, why it should be studied, this course is useful for whom, and as I said in previous session as well that the course is useful for B.Tech students, BBA students, MBA students, part time professionals and those who are dealing with data. We have also seen in previous session about types of statistics, what care one should take if a person is dealing with secondary data. We have also seen definitions of data, raw data, data set, elements and so on. In this class, we are going to talk about descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So, first we will look at what are different types of descriptive statistics available to us. So, descriptive statistics, as I said in previous session as well, that it describes something of a product or of an individual or of an organization. So, we collect data in descriptive statistics, we summarize them and we analyze data, after that we make a particular decision, right. So, we will discuss more about descriptive statistics. So, as I said, it is more of data collection. So, data collection can be through several ways, or let us say survey can be through several methods. You can have let us say phone to phone survey, you can have one to one survey, you can have survey at the mall, you can have survey at the office, you can have survey at the home and there are several other methods of data collection. So, once you have collected data, then your responsibility is to present data in appropriate form, so that you can infer something out of that data. So, either you come up with tables, graphs, charts, pie charts, scatter plots and so on, and then try to go for some kind of analysis on data, right. For example, you can simply do mean, right, you can calculate mean, mode, median, range and there are several other statistical analysis you can perform on data. As far as inferential statistics is concerned, as I said in previous class as well, that on the basis of some sample we try to know the characteristics of population, and there are two types of inferential statistics: estimation, for example, estimation of population mean through sample mean. Okay. I will give you an example. Let us say there are 30 students in your class and you want to know the weight of average weight of the class. So, what you should do? You should take a sample from that class, find out the mean and you should say that this mean is equivalent to the mean of the population, right. So, that is estimation. The other one is hypothesis testing. So, there are two types of inferential statistics, in estimation, hypothesis testing. So, here what we say, we test a claim that the population mean weight is 120 pounds. So, initially what we do in hypothesis testing, we prepare a hypothesis, we frame a hypothesis about population parameter. We say that because we do not know whether what is the mean weight of the population. So, we assume initially, we say that it is 120 pound. Now, it may be right or it may be wrong, it will be decided once you take sample from that population and find out the weight. Okay. So, these are two broad inferential statistical tools, estimation and hypothesis testing. So, we are drawing conclusion about large group of individuals based on subset of the large group, that is subset is nothing but sample of the population. We have also seen couple of definitions. So, what is variable? It is a characteristics of an item or an individual. For example, height of students, weight of students and so on. So, all these are nothing but variables, right. Data once again are different values associated with a variable or with variables. So, let us look at some basic vocabulary of statistics. So, you have got population, there is something called sample, there is something called parameter and there is something called statistics. So, what do you think, what is population? Just think for a while, what is population? So, population is basically all the items or individuals about which you want to draw conclusion. For example, let us say you want to know the income of those people who live in 25 kilometers radius from the center of the city, and the age of those people should be between 18 to 25, right. So, all those people who are in this age group and live in this 25 kilometers of the radius, that would be the population. Let us say that population for simplicity is 100. So, all these 100 individuals are population. Okay. What is sample? Sample is the proportion of population selected for analysis. So, we will select some of the people over here from 100 people, so that we can know income of the entire population. So, how to select sample? It should be a representative sample. For example, in this 100 in this set of 100 people, let us say there are 75 male and 25 females, and let us say if you are taking a sample of, for example, let us say 20. So, if you are taking 20 sample over here, then how many should be male? Because 75% are male. So, 75 is 0.75 into 20, right. So, whatever is the number you will get, right. Similarly, 0.25 into 20, 0.25 into 20. So, these many females you should select and these many males you should select. So, that is why you will have a representative sample. Representative sample means the sample should have the same characteristics which the population has got, right. Parameter is a numerical measure that describes characteristics of the population. It is the characteristics of the population, not the sample. So, it could be, let us say, population mean, or it could be standard deviation of the population. Statistics is a measure that describes characteristics of sample. So, sample mean x bar, sample standard deviation, this is how we represent sample standard deviation. So, population is about, so parameter is about population and statistics is about sample, right. Just one more slide on population and sample. So, this is your entire population. So, population measures used to describe the population are called parameters. So, those measures which we use to describe population are called parameters, and those measures which we use to describe sample are called statistics, right. So, this is your sample, right. So, definition if you take, then this complete enumeration of items is population, complete enumeration, and part of it is sample. So, this is parameter, this is statistics for sample. These are different symbols we use for population and sample. So, this is capital N population size, small n sample size, population mean, sample mean, right, standard deviation and sample standard deviation. So, which is better at the end of the day? Should you go for sampling or just complete enumeration or population? There are several factors which will decide what decision you should take. Let us say if your population is small, let us say there are only 5 students in your class, and if you want to measure mean weight of the class, then you can take weight of each individual and just divide it by 5, right. So, there is no need of sampling in that case, because your population size is too small, right. But generally we take samples when your population is large, and in real life you have got large populations. So, if you take samples from those populations, or if you take a sample from a population, then there are several advantages. It saves time. You can easily take few samples from population and perform whatever analysis you want to perform. Let us say if you want to measure height, measure it, if you want to measure weight, measure it, right. It is of course less expensive, because you are approaching only few ones from that population. It is good to go for sampling when your population is large, as I have already mentioned. Now, there is something called a situation where the product is destructive in nature, then you should go for sampling, not the complete enumeration. So, let us say I will take you an example, I will give you an example. Let us say you are manufacturing perfume, and you are packing perfume in different bottles. So, before supplying perfume to customers, or let us say to your distributor or to retailer, what you should do? You should test the product, you should taste it for its quality. So, how to test quality of a perfume? You should take each and every bottle and spray it, right. But if you do it, then you would be tasting, or you would be wasting entire perfume in tasting itself. So, there will not be any perfume to sell to the dealer or to distributor or to customer. So, in that case, if you produce let us say 100 bottles every day, you take a sample of 1 or 2 bottles and test it for quality. So, in situation like these, you should go for sampling, right. Another example, let us say if you manufacture bricks, and let us say you want to supply it to a builder for construction purpose. So, if you want to check the strength of the bricks, so what you would do? You would not crush each and every brick, is not it? Otherwise, what you would supply to building contractor or that owner of the building. So, you should take couple of bricks, crush them for testing the strength, and then on the basis of that you say that bricks are of good quality, and then you supply, right. So, situation again like this, you should use sampling, right. Why to collect data? There are several applications. In fact, in previous class I discussed about this. So, let us take there is a marketing manager, he wants to know the effectiveness of a new TV advertisement which he has just prepared. So, whether it is better than previous advertisement, how many people are watching new advertisement, after watching how many people are coming to market for buying the product for which advertisement has been designed. Let us say a pharmaceutical manufacturer wants to know the effectiveness of new drug which that pharmaceutical company has recently prepared. So, how this new drug is more effective than previous drug. So, using data, manufacturer of pharmaceutical drugs can make a decision. An operator let us say in manufacturing process, are at an assembly line, wants to know what is the quality of the product which are being manufactured. Are they being manufactured as per standards of the company or not? Another example is, let us say an auditor wants to review the financial transaction of a company in order to determine whether the company is in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles or not. So, if not, then why not? How company can follow the standards, right. So, and there are hundreds of such applications, not hundreds, there are thousands of such applications. So, all these people, there are few names I have written, all of them are using data for their jobs, be a teacher or consultant or industrialist. How teacher is using data? So, let us say if you are teaching to a class, then you can find out what is the mean marks of the class in midterm examination. If mean marks are, let us say out of 25 it is, let us say 10, then you need to take a corrective action, right. So, like this consultants, industrialists, counselors, administrators, managers, parents can see how their children are performing in different subjects, and they can take corrective measures for their children. They can go for coaching class and so on, right. So, students and almost all of us use data to perform our jobs. Okay. If you look at sources, you can classify sources in many ways: internal sources, external sources, primary, secondary. You can have some quantitative sources, some qualitative sources and so on. So, if you look at primary sources, means if I have to collect data for my research problem or for my project, if I am collecting data personally, if not personally, even if I am using, let us say field workers for data collection, then that would be called primary source of data. So, you can have examples like this: data collected by a political party, data collected from an experiment. So, if you are performing an experiment in laboratory, then you would collect data from that experiment. So, that would be a primary data. You are observing something, let us say you are observing number of vehicles passing from an intersection. So, how many trucks passed from 9 am to 10 am, how many two-wheelers passed from 9 am to 10 am. So, these are observational data. Generally, you should go for secondary sources initially. If you think that secondary sources are not reliable, not updated, not accurate, then you should go for some primary sources. What about secondary sources? Those sources of data wherein some other persons or other people or other agencies, other organizations have collected data for their work, their research work, their project work, their assignment work or some other work purpose. So, that is secondary data. So, as I said, if there is a research project or any project or any work you want to do and you need data, then try to search from secondary sources initially, and there are several secondary sources. You have got, let us say, newspapers, you have got magazines, you have got library, you have got different government sources, different business associations and so on. So, these are two primary sources of data. Now, let us look at types of variables. What is a variable? Variable is characteristics of an individual in which we are interested. For example, height of a student, right, or let us say weight of students in your class. So, you can have variables in two forms, either it can be a categorical or numerical. So, either you call it it is a non-numerical and numerical, okay, or you can call it quantitative, QUNT, quantitative, and these are qualitative, right. So, they are one and the same thing. So, or you can call it this metric data. So, either you call it numerical, quantitative, metric, one and the same thing. This is non-metric data, non-metric, right. So, what are non-metric data? Variables have values that can only be placed into categories such as yes, no, right. Let us say male, female, it is nothing metric in it, right. Let us say you would have seen people having 10 cups of coffee every day. So, you can call them heavy coffee drinker. You have got medium coffee drinker, right. So, heavy, medium, they are nothing but categorical variables, right. You can say let us say group 1, group 2, categorical variable, B first year class, B second year class, categorical variable, right. Of course, you can code those categorical variables like let us say yes means 1 and no means 0, right. You can do coding also once you have got categorical variables. Numerical variables are variables have values that represent quantities, right. So, there would be some numbers, for example, let us say 13.5 kg, right, is nothing but a numerical variable, okay. Now, types of data. So, as I said, you can have categorical and numerical. We have already talked about categorical. These are some more examples, right. So, marital status of a person, married, bachelor, divorcee. So, there are 3 categories of this particular variable, right. Political parties, party X, Y, Z and so on, right. If you look at numerical data can be discrete data or continuous data. So, those data which you can count are called discrete data. For example, number of houses in a city, or let us say number of children in a house, let us say number of cars in a house, number of TV sets in a house, defects per hour on an assembly line per hour, number of pet animals in a house. So, all these things can be counted. So, they are discrete data. You can have continuous data as well. Weight. Now, weight can be, let us say you need to measure the weight, you can't count the weight. So, weight can be let us say 13, let us say 130 pounds, right, or let us say voltage 1.5, resistance 2.7 ohms, right. So, let us say another example, let us say Sensex ended yesterday at let us say 5000.13 points. So, these are kind of continuous data, okay. Let us look at couple of scales, because whenever you go for data collection, you need to use some scales. Just like you have got a weighing machine for measuring weight, you have got you can measure height of a person in terms of centimeters or inches, whatever you want. Similarly, let us say if you want to measure attitude of a person towards certain product, then you need to have some scale, right. So, let us look at these scales. we will look at 4 basic scales. We have got nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and the fourth one is ratio scale. So, 2 of these scales are categorical scales. You can call them non-metric, right, or you can call it categorical or qualitative, right, one and the same thing. These 2 are metric scales, right, metric scales. So, what is a nominal scale? A nominal scale is a scale which we use to identify a particular person, a product, or a group, or an educational institute, or any other thing, right. So, this scale determines the amount of information contained in the data, of course. So, the scale indicates data summarization and statistical analysis that are most appropriate. So, first we will use a particular scale, we will collect data, and then we will perform some statistical analysis. So, nominal scale, as I said, are used for identification of something. So, you let us say in your class you have 30 students, so you have got different names, right. Let us say Ramesh, Suresh, John, and so on, right. So, they are nothing but that is nothing but a nominal scale. We are using some labels to identify an object or a person or a group, okay. So, that is nominal scale. So, once you have got a nominal scale, you can assign them some numeric code as well. For example, there are let us say 30 students in your class, serial number 1 Suresh, right, serial number 30 Ramesh, right. So, these are nothing but numeric code or nothing. You can have, there is something called enrollment number, right, enrollment number. So, you have got your label and you can have some enrollment number for this particular label, right. So, this 30 does not mean that this fellow Ramesh is 30 times intelligent than Suresh, right, keep in mind. So, we have just numbered these variables just for identification purpose. So, this is a nominal scale. Let us look at an example. Students of a university are classified by the school in which they are enrolled using a non-numerical label. So, let us call them business departments students, humanities students, education students, right, and so on, right. So, you can have mechanical engineering students, electrical engineering, civil engineering, chemical, materials, and so on, right, and you can then number as well, right. Let us say for in this case, so we have numbered business as 1, right, humanities as 2, and so on, right. So, you can always have a nominal scale and it can be numbered also, right. The second one is ordinal scale. So, the data have the properties of nominal scale and the order or rank of the data is meaningful in case of ordinal scale. So, for the timing, let me stop here and let me summarize what we did in last 30 minutes. We did talk about what is inferential statistics, what is descriptive statistics. We have seen different types of scales. We have also seen different types of data. We have seen discrete data, continuous data. We have also seen different sources of data. As I said, initially you should try to go for secondary data, but if you think that secondary data are not good enough for your work, then go for primary data. So, with this let me stop here. In next class I will discuss about remaining scales, namely we ordinal scale, interval scale and ratio scale. Thank you.